Hey guys, Dr. Ben here, F8 Well Centers. Let's talk about Alzheimer's today. Let's talk about neurodegeneration. Let's talk about the brain, amyloid plaque, and even this new drug in the last couple of years they've come out with, a Aduhelm, that is designed to get rid of these plaques, these beta amyloid plaques. And so the first thing that we're going to get into is, what is Alzheimer's? How is that different than dementia? Where do we go with this research that's coming out about, hey, it's got to be these plaques that's the problem. I'm going to show you that's probably not the case. What they're looking at here as their objective for this $56,000 a year drug, they're actually missing the boat. And I want to tell you, the treatment, unfortunately, there's only so much that can be done, because here's the deal: 20 years before somebody gets diagnosed with Alzheimer's, they are already starting to develop Alzheimer's. They're already getting these symptoms, it's already taking place. And so most of the time, by the time they're already 20 years too late. So let's get into this. Put down below where you guys are watching from. Let me know who in your life you've helped, you've had to deal with Alzheimer's, because it really is. Think about this. At age 65, 1 in 100 are going to have Alzheimer's. At age 75, 1 in 10 are going to have Alzheimer's. At age 85, 1 in 2 people are going to have Alzheimer's and get diagnosed with Alzheimer's. In the United States, there's at least 6 million people diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And I say diagnosed because, again, for 20 years, this is already leading up to that diagnosis. And there's signs and symptoms. Some of the basic signs and symptoms: losing taste, losing smell, especially. If you're like, man, I can't really smell that much anymore. It's not a COVID thing, but this is just a degenerative smell. Absolutely. If you're starting to lose little words, if you're walking into rooms and forgetting why you're going in there, all of these things can then lead into ultimately dementia. And Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. Dementia is kind of this big umbrella. There's a lot of different types of dementia, and then that neurodegeneration. But then Alzheimer's is going to be more of this specific one, and it looks very particular on a brain scan, MRI, CAT scan, something like that. You're able to see this plaquing, and there's these amyloid plaques that we see on these Alzheimer's patients. And so the research is, and they continue to go for this, is looking at how can we get rid of these amyloid plaques. And the assumption then is that the amyloid plaque, kind of even like in your heart, and if there's high cholesterol, people go, oh, the high cholesterol is causing the plaque in the heart. But here's the deal: it's very similar to what's going on in the brain. The high cholesterol is a symptom, and it potentially it could be causing some damage because that cholesterol is high. But there's really this inflammatory process, and cholesterol actually has some protective benefit, and so does that plaque in the cardiovascular system. Same thing in the brain, is that there is this plaque being laid down in the brain. And what most people that are not just in the drug world and wanting to find a drug to get rid of that plaquing, most people look at this plaquing as a protective, almost like a scab. And that scab is going to be protecting from this damage, from this inflammation, from all of these issues. And so if all you do this Aduhelm, Aduhelm, approved by the FDA, pretty sketchy. I'll get into that in a few minutes here. This Aduhelm got in because the FDA said there's pretty reasonable research showing that if you get rid of this amyloid plaque in the brain, that you might resolve Alzheimer's symptoms. No study has ever shown that. No study has ever shown get rid of amyloid plaque, get Alzheimer's. Hey, Jared, good to see you there in Fort Morgan. So again, pop down below where you guys are watching from. Let me know if any loved ones, any parents, anybody that you've had to take care of. Tell me your story. I mean, it's pretty intense what happens with people with Alzheimer's. So here's the deal. The FDA got these trials going on this drug, and And basically, they were trying to prove that it could decrease amyloid plaque in the brain, which is a telltale sign of Alzheimer's, with the assumption that getting the amyloid plaque down would improve Alzheimer's symptoms. That's never been shown to be effective. Even in the study, it didn't show that. But they actually saw some significant negative effects from that drug. They actually pulled it off the study for a while and then brought it back on, and then the FDA approved it basically overnight. It was this instant response, and this was to a $56,000 per year drug. This drug is $56,000 per year, and it's, if somebody goes on this, let's say they're 68 and they're having some early stage Alzheimer's and they live another 10 years, then we're talking, six, because it's going to keep going up, $6 or $7 million just for that drug. Thankfully, the Medicare has not approved this yet. The FDA gave it approval and said, anybody with this yet? And what we're looking at is that's actually a good thing, because now it's just approved if somebody's in a trial, but otherwise it would actually change. So for any of you guys on Medicare, it would change your monthly expenses. It would raise your Medicare Part B or whatever those different systems are, because if everybody that had Alzheimer's went on this drug, it would double the amount of drug expense that Medicare has. Horrible disease. Hey, Kay, my grandmother had it, my mom also, now my brother is battling it from Louisiana. Yeah, Kay, there are very specific things that you need to look at when you start thinking about Alzheimer's. And I'm going to get into that, let you know what you need to be doing for yourself to really put this energy into it, because obviously you've got some genetics for this. And so I'm going to tell you what genetic test to look for, and also what you can do on a regular basis to really help nourish your brain and prevent some of this degeneration. A lot of insurance companies are not paying for this either at this point. And the big reason is they're not seeing that it's helping decreasing Alzheimer's or Alzheimer's symptoms. So this drug, it's still FDA approved, and the drug company is pushing as much as feasibly possible to get it paid for, because obviously $56,000 a year, and we're talking about millions of people a year. If somebody do quick math, if there's 2 million prescriptions a year at $56,000 per person, how much does that cost? Somebody do a quick calculator and put that in there. So I mean, we're talking, billions and billions of dollars. It's crazy what this would do for something that really does not fix it. So what is Alzheimer's, and where is this amyloid plaque, where is this inflammation coming from? And that's one of the big things every day that drives me. So I have a gene, it's called an APOE. So write this down. And for any of you guys out there that are concerned, just like Kay, you need to have your APOE tested. And if you remember in science class, there's these pundit squares, which is like a little tic-tac-toe with 4 boxes in there. And you can be, so remember that they were talking about a pea or a bean or something, and it was like a big P, little p, little p, little p, and the big P would be purple, the little p would be green, or something like that. And so if you have the big P and it goes big P, and then little p, that big P is going to carry down to the next genetics. The little p, that's going to be, okay, it's not going to carry down, and it's going to be a green P, but the big P is going to be the purple P. So this is what happens with the APOE. You could be a 2, a 3, or a 4. And if somebody is an APO4, then they're going to be 4 times as likely to get Alzheimer's. If they get a concussion, they're 10 times as likely to get Alzheimer's. And what that means is if somebody's a 2-4, then their kids are going to be 50% likely to be a carrier of that Alzheimer's gene. If they're a 2-2 and the mom's a 3-3 and the dad and mom, and there's no 4 in there, they do not have that genetics for Alzheimer's. And basically this APOE4, if you're a carrier for that, your brain is not going to heal as quickly as it should. So that's why if somebody gets a concussion and they have that APOE4, they are not going to be as likely to be able to repair that brain and more likely to ultimately get Alzheimer's. I actually am an E4 carrier, so this is very interesting to me. That's why I wrote my brain book. Brittany, if you want to put that link down below, you can grab that one on Amazon. Rebuild your brain, stop the damage, start the repair. I go into what can break down the brain and then what can build up the brain as well in the second half of the book. So for me, I think about this every day that, hey, I've got to do everything I can. I don't want my kids locking me in the basement. I'm going to be belligerent with them. They're going to have to take the car keys away from me. Who knows what it's going to be like in 30 years if we're going to have even cars at that point. So, but we don't even have keys anymore. It'll just be like in a chip in our arm. So we're going to have to unchip me so that I can't go and drive that car. I know that I have to do better and more things to help my brain and to prevent further degeneration. So one of the number one things that we see is actually neurodegeneration from blood sugar imbalances. And this is why they call Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. And there's such a connection between Alzheimer's and diabetes and blood sugar imbalances. So if your blood sugar is jacked, if it's going up and down, especially the highs, you're going to have more neurodegeneration. And think about it this way. If somebody is breaking down their nerves, if they are getting neuropathy in their hands or feet or nerves in their eyes and starting to affect their vision, that is neurodegeneration. Where's the biggest nerve bundle in our body? And if we're breaking down this nerve cells in our hands and feet, we're also going to be breaking down our brain. And what that means is that we are going to be getting this Alzheimer's, dementia, neurodegeneration. The brain is going to be being broken down. And then we come in with these amyloid plaques and we're doing some building up, we're doing some protecting, some plaque on there, kind of almost like a scab to stop further damage and to almost protect the brain. So could these new drugs, could all this research actually be making the Alzheimer's worse and preventing our body's ability to support and nurture? Potentially. So here's what you need to do. You need to keep your blood sugar stabilized 85 to 110 all day long, every day, as stable as feasibly possible. For a lot of people, that's going to mean no sweet potato, no quinoa, no rice, no sandwiches. It's very, very particular for what your body can do. That's why every one of our patients, we start with a continuous glucose monitor, and we know exactly what is going on there. At the farmer's market the other day, there was some sample tortilla chips and a bunch of different salsas. I had 5 corn tortillas and different salsas. And within 60 minutes, my blood sugar had spiked up from about 100 up to 142 with 5 corn tortillas. That's how sensitive some bodies are, and that's how sensitive, especially to things like corn. It is that detrimental. So here's what I know is that I have specific foods that I am not going to eat because I want to keep my blood sugar as steady as possible. Another thing that we look at is exercise and not movement. Movement's great. You got to go for walks. You got to get on a bike and just do some general bike ride and things like that. But you've got to do exercise where you stimulate BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is going to help rebuild and repair any damaged tissue and give your body that stimulation. And so to do that, you've got to get the heart elevated. And so again, check with your doctor, check with your provider on what heart rate that should be. I like 180 minus the age, but you want to ease into that if you have not been exercising, if you're out of shape, things like that. But you want to get 180 minus your age. Even some sprints. So you do 30 minutes or 30 seconds on the bike, on the stationary bike, 30 seconds coasting. Sprint, coast, sprint, coast. Some HIIT workouts are going to be very helpful. Do a plank for 30 seconds, and then do some air squats for 30 seconds, and then do some wall push-ups for 30 seconds with a little break in between. Get that heart rate elevated, and that's actually going to be one of the best things that you can do for your brain. Keep that moving as much as feasibly possible. And keep learning new things. You've got to keep learning. You've got to keep going. One of the worst things that you can do for your brain is to hit 55, 65, whatever age that you retire at, and then you're like, I'm done, and you just check out and you go, I'm golfing, I'm just knitting, I'm just wandering around. I see so many people that go into retirement and don't have a focus, a drive, a learning, continuing to improve, always be doing something. Go and give and do and be and just you've got to challenge yourself. And a lot of people are like, wow, I worked my whole life, and it's like, you know what? You're gonna do one of two things until the day you die. You're going to continue to improve and keep building, or you have options. And so I just really encourage you to take the path of improvement, take the path of I'm going to continually focus on my brain. Go barefoot on rocks and challenge your brain by challenging your balance. Get one of the wobble discs and stand there while you're brushing your teeth. We got one for my kids. They sprain their ankles in soccer, and so we get them these wobble discs, and they stand on there and challenge their ankle goes like this. Every time that happens, it fires the brain. You've got so many different things that you can do. Check out my book, Stabilize Your Blood Sugar, and because really, right now, prevention, just like cancer, prevention of Alzheimer's is really where we have to go at this point. Yes, we can do things and we can treat things even on the natural side once somebody has Alzheimer's, but I would much rather prevent somebody from getting Alzheimer's. I would much rather prevent somebody from getting cancer than wait until it happens and go, oh my gosh, what natural things can we do? Or synthetic or whatever. None of that is going to fix it. So thanks for jumping on, guys. This is huge. It's a paradigm shift from the magic cancer cure, the magic Alzheimer's cure. None of that is going to come into fruition. It really is about our bodies. It's about prevention, and it's about getting us to that place where we truly can be vibrant until that day we die. That candle blows out, and then we're gone. All right, take care, everybody. Make it a great day.